Another round of police officers shouldn't be in security seems to be making the rounds again. And while I spent the early years of my career wondering that myself, I've been lucky enough to see the good and the bad firsthand. Here's what I've discovered. I believe there's a need for a mixture of former police and people with no law enforcement experience at all. One group can always learn from another. One of the problems seems to be that neither group has any interest in learning from the other. There's a gulf that needs to be bridged so the two groups can exist together. While I've worked with some questionable former cops in my day, I'd like to start with the good, as there are quite a few. I've been lucky enough to work with a lot of retired former police. I think retirement helps develop a certain level of contentment in a person. Whenever I would talk to someone older than me who had a full career of experience, I found that I usually learned something. It was an older former police officer more than 15 years ago who told me, "Those people out there we're serving are the ones signing our paychecks." Thanks for that, Steve. It was a retired police officer who gave me a very good reason why a fellow underperforming security officer had been able to hang on to his job for several years, saying, "He's one of those people who knows just how little he needs to do to keep himself employed." And the people who believed in me most, who helped shape me, were a supervisor, a director, and a vice president, all former law enforcement. They were the ones who handed me the only award I ever received from this industry. I like to think that the best person to be a first responder to a dangerous event would be a good former police officer. Why not? That's how they made their living before. That experience is valuable. I might trust that cop more than someone on the job whose interests are more aligned with desk work and who might not be comfortable responding to something that puts them in the line of fire. My experiences with bad former law enforcement, on the other hand, have been much less. But be careful around younger former police. Sometimes I was suspicious of someone my age or younger being hired as a security officer after spending time as part of the police force. What happened? Did they get into trouble? Were they fired? In some cases, I believe this to be true, and it's because of their actions as security officers that led me to believe that. There's the case of someone I've talked about before, the former Florida corrections officer who bullied associates into wearing their ID badges in a way that he demanded. He would also make offensive sexual comments to female employees. And he'd often begin his shift by saying, "Let's see how many people I can piss off today." That's just not what our industry is about. He was then shocked when he was fired for his conduct, even after we warned him that he would be. He made a big production of it, too, acted like he was going to faint, and dropped to the floor. We enjoyed playing that video back from time to time. In his case, he could not adapt to a new environment. And that's the key: adaptability. If you can't adapt, you're already finished. There are just a few other cases of otherwise good people making big mistakes, but I still respect them too much to talk about the actions publicly. Now let's talk about former police and security management. This can have mixed results too. Again, my own experiences are more positive than negative. But I think one problem that people may be seeing with former law enforcement taking security management jobs is also adaptability. And this happens sometimes because former police will view security departments as a police precinct. And sometimes they'll end up running the security department that way. Why? I think that sometimes people get caught up in living past careers vicariously through other people. Let me explain this in football terms. Jason Garrett, the former Dallas Cowboys head coach, was a quarterback in his playing days. He spent his early years as the backup to Troy Aikman, then later played for the New York Giants before transitioning to coaching. As head coach of the Cowboys, he was able to lead his team to a couple of playoff games. In crucial moments, however, Garrett would often depend on the passing game a little too much. Despite having great running backs like DeMarco Murray and Ezekiel Elliott, come playoff time, Garrett relied on the arms of Tony Romo and Dak Prescott. Why? He was living his former career vicariously through other people. Sometimes, former police do the same thing in security management positions. They live the police officer life vicariously through security officers. Aspects of the job like prevention, concierge, and hospitality often give way to the feeling of life on the force. So, from what I've been able to gather over the years, the issue again seems to be adaptability. Can we adapt from one environment and culture to another? And if not, are we smart enough to walk away and find another line of work, so we don't give this industry the black eye it continues to receive from popular opinion? Thanks for listening.